has coming up this upcoming election season, how your organizations could get involved with us and make sure that our elections are running properly, that there's no funny business when it comes to tabulating all the votes, making sure that everybody's voice is heard at the so yeah, let's get into it. Rodolfo, you can click on to the next slide. So, like I said, we're a nonpartisan organization out here trying to build power for our communities, um, and ensure that everybody knows how to access their right to vote and is engaged civically when it comes to our local processes. Um, we can keep on moving. So I just want to talk right quick about a couple of a little bit more recent General Assembly updates that have changed the elections just a bit, or at least added some stuff that'll be on our ballot just to give everybody a heads up so we can spread this within our communities. So first up, we have um, HB 237, which was various criminal and election law changes. Now, we heard a lot about this one because of the changes to mask mandates that it had. Um, and this is law now. It did pass back in June and is law now. The big changes that we were looking at and that we advocated for were around bodily autonomy rights when it came to wearing masks in public. It did change things as far as it went, following COVID, to where there are laws against wearing masks in public and a little bit more control by local businesses and whatnot to oversee their own mandates when it comes to that. And it also had a couple of proponents in there that deterred protesting and changed the way we could protest in North Carolina, specifically when it came to using roadways in a safe manner without blocking any not emergency vehicles. But one of the things that we were looking at for it was changes in campaign finance laws, um, where it allows political action committees to make large contributions directly to candidates without having to go to the whole reporting requirements and everything. So that's something we're looking at, a little bit concerning when it comes to just keeping larger amounts of money and private interest out of our elections. So that's something to just keep an eye on that we're continually spreading information about. Like I said, this is something a little bit more recent. Doesn't necessarily change the way that we vote, but it does just change the kind of like a little bit, changes our election some and changes the way that money comes into play in these types of things. A bigger one that we're going to see on the ballot is on the next slide. There was a bill passed that added a constitutional amendment that we're looking at that is very bogus. That's called the citizens only voting. It'll be a constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot in November. It'll be on the ballots here in a couple of weeks when they start sending out the absentee ballots on September 6th. And so the whole amendment is pretty much making having people vote as to whether or not there should be an amendment in the North Carolina Constitution saying only citizens should be able to vote. Now, of course, this is the law currently has been. Whenever you register anybody to vote, the first question that you ask them, the first question that they have to answer is whether or not you are a citizen. So it just feeds into the narratives that we've heard in the past couple of years that we have people that aren't citizens voting within our elections, just again into the whole election integrity, corruption of our elections. But we're spreading awareness about this because it's bogus. It's completely bogus. And like I said, it undermines our elections and undermines the certification of the results that we've had in the past couple of years of elections as well. So we are, just be aware this will be on your ballot. It is, concerning that this is going to be a thing because it's already law. It's on all of our voter registration forms. Like I said, it just undermines the security and how secure our elections are in North Carolina. So these are two things that have happened in the past couple of months that we're keeping everybody up to date on. But just know that this will be on the ballot in the next couple of weeks when they start getting sent out and when we go to vote in October and November. But the main reason I'm out here today is to talk about what Democracy NC is doing and how you can get involved with us in the next couple of months, because it is going to be a very hectic election season. It already has been a very hectic election season. I mean, just look at everything that happened back in July. Where we are right now today in August is a far cry from where a lot of things were just a couple of months ago. So things are rapidly changing. But it's important that we are going out in our communities, making sure that everybody knows their rights and is engaged with the election process. So first up, one of the bigger programs that we have and that we are always kind of do recruiting for is our County Board of Elections and Election Advocacy Program. So our County Board of Elections, they're very important. They are the ones that run our elections here within whatever county you're in. They're the ones that maintain our voter rolls here within our counties. They're the ones that decide our early voting plans, and they'll appoint precinct officials and those types of things. And when it comes down to actually tabulating all the votes during the canvassing period, they're the ones that are going to approve the provisional ballots, approve the reasonable impediment forms, and actually go through and certify the election results. So super important, and they're right down the road from wherever you are in whichever county you're in. So next slide, Rodolfo. So we have our elections advocacy program, and one of the big things that we do is communicating and building relationships with our county board of elections. So that means going in, meeting your county director, meeting the board members, attending these meetings. These meetings are publicly that you're able to attend. They have availability for public. They may have closed sessions every now and then, but they will make sure that they're that that ahead of time, so you're not getting out there and finding that out. But these are public meetings. They work for us. They make sure that the elections run smooth and fairly for all of us. And we also do a lot of advocacy at the Board of Commissioners when it comes to ensuring that our Board of Elections have the funding they need, that our Board of Elections get the funding that they need from the county in order to have as many, to have the capacity to oversee and run our elections, to make sure that we have enough early voting sites to accommodate what we have. And then also we're just, the elections advocacy program, we always just advocate for increased access to voting at all levels too. So like I was just mentioning, the canvass process. So canvass is the 10 days after the election. So our election this year is going to be on November 5th. So the official canvass date is actually November 15th. But in that period of time, that's actually when our elections are certified. So there is some misconception there because we always see, on any major news station actively following the counts from precincts the night of the election to see who won. But the elections actually aren't fully certified until this canvass period, until November 15th. And again, that's overseen by our County Board of Elections. They're the ones that hold these meetings. It begins with our absentee meetings, which actually begin October 1st. And so that's when the County Board of Elections will actually go through, start opening up the absentee ballots that have been mailed back in and sending them through the system as long as everything's there with it. So we really encourage community advocates, community partners to get involved with this process because this is a place where a lot of bad faith actors can come in and start disruptions within our election processes. There's laws on the books now where anybody in the county can come in and protest an absentee ballot. They can call for recounts and protest the certification process. So we really encourage people to get involved at this level. And this may be overwhelming. So that's why we're having this conversation now in August, a month and a half before these absentee meetings begin. So you can go ahead and get in the groove of learning who your board of election members are, who your county board director is, and getting engaged there to where when it comes to October, you have a little bit more familiarity with these people and these processes and don't feel as nervous about it. another thing they do is they look over the photo ID exception forms, which we'll talk about in just a second too. So just again, talking about why you should attend these meetings. Like I said a couple of slides ago, despite popularly belief, the elections are not certified on election night. They're not certified November 5th. Those are projections, and from what precinct, what we've seen from different precincts across the state. So these are not finalized until the actual canvass takes place. Those 10-day period after the election. So like I was saying, in this period, there are a lot of big things that happen. The provisional ballots that are casted. Oh, go back right quick, Rodolfo. Um, yep, there we go. So the provisional ballots, they're actually either approved or declined. And the Board of Election members have to decide whether or not to approve the ID exception forms. So actually, when you go to vote, it is a law now, and this will be the first major election we have in North Carolina, where everybody will have to show photo ID in order to get their ballot and cast their vote. So there is a bit of a misconception here that you have to have a voter ID. There is such a thing as a voter ID that you can get from your county board of elections, but you don't need a voter ID to vote. You just need any acceptable photo ID. And I have a little graphic here about that in a second. So, just as long, mainly like a driver's license, non-driver's license that's issued by the DMV, a passport, something like that can be used in order to, cast your ballot, as long as it has your name and photo up there and has been approved by the state board of elections to be used. But if you don't have one of those, you are able to either cast a provisional ballot and come back and get to the board of elections and at a later time with an ID, or fill out a photo ID exemption form talking about why you couldn't provide an ID at that time. Not necessarily why you don't have one, but if you just misplaced it, didn't have it on your person at the time of voting, you are able to fill that out. And the Board of Elections is supposed to go through and look at those in good faith and assume that you were, being truthful in that process. And so, but one thing that we look at is county discrepancy with how this is done. So there is, this process is up to the judgment of the county board of election members. So whatever decision is made in Edgecombe County may not be the same decision made in Martin County. Edgecombe County board members may approve a certain photo ID exemption form that then people in Martin County or the board members in Martin County wouldn't approve that could be under the same reason. So these are all the important reasons why we need to actually attend these meetings, come on out and begin our advocacy now, just because, at the same time as we need to be out getting people registered to vote, getting people ready to vote, we have to be making sure that we're engaging in this process to where their votes are actually counted after they go and submit their ballot. So if you're interested in getting started, we do have an online training, and I'll have Rodolfo send these slides out afterwards so that everybody can have access to this. So you'll be able to click on that link right there. But we do have an interactive online training to get started. And then you can reach out to myself or someone else with Democracy North Carolina. Carol's also on this call. And we can help you get started and provide some the forms that you'll need and just some things to look out for. So this is one big program that we're pushing, our elections advocacy program, making sure that people are engaged with this process so that we know what's going on. And if there is any funny business happening, we're able to engage with our partners and our legal teams to make sure that things are taken care of and that no one's right to vote is taken away at this point. And then the other big program that we have that we're pushing right now, we're getting engagement for, is our Vote Protector program. So this program, it works in conjunction with our 888 Our Vote hotline, which is actually Carol on the call is the one that works really closely with the hotline and taking those, taking the things that are reported from the hotline and making sure that things are taken care of. But our vote protectors, they oversee precincts that are close to them, their own local precinct, early voting locations. They go out, they stand outside of the buffer zones that we have out there. They monitor to make sure that everything is running smoothly, talking with voters to make sure that there were no problems on the inside, and really just making sure that when it comes to the election locations, no one's being turned away and no one's right to vote is being infringed upon. And so, one of the reasons this is important is that our elections can get pretty complicated. One of the election laws that was passed last year, SB 747, actually expanded the rights of partisan poll observers. So these aren't poll workers, these are people that are sent into our precincts by local party members to just observe, see how things are going for those partisan reasons. They can roam about and potentially intimidate or confuse voters. Just depending on their proximity or things like that. And they are supposed to wear proper identification, but if that's not done, it could also confuse people, and they could assume that they are election workers on the inside when they're actually not. And then also poll workers, they're only human. They're community members that are getting paid most of the time to help out with this, but they don't necessarily know all of the workings of our elections. And so mistakes can be made. And we've seen some mistakes that were made back in the primaries, back in the municipal elections of last year, especially with the ID component and the ID exception form. And they're not being malicious. It's just not having access to all the information, not having everything there. And so just making sure that things are being taken care of. And if there are any issues, they're helping them get in contact with the county board of elections, with the election officials, and that things are being taken care of in that manner as well. And so like I was talking about a minute ago, when it comes to canvassing, and then when it comes to making sure that everybody has their right to vote, one of the big things we're looking at here is, especially with the new photo ID laws, like I said, this is going to be the first major election with these photo ID laws on the books. We didn't see as much turnout back in the primaries as much as we hope. And then last year were just the municipal elections, so not everybody had the chance to vote. But this is going to be a huge. We're going to see huge turnouts, and so this is something we need to talk about. Especially the question: what if I don't have an ID with me when I go to vote? And so there are pretty much three options you have here. First, you can not vote at that time, go home, get an ID, come back and vote at another time. Don't fully recommend that. There is a way as well where you are able to vote a provisional ballot, not have an ID at that time, and then come back to the Board of Elections at a later time before county canvass, and show your ID in order to have have it be seen there and have it go through. Or like I was saying, you can fill out a provisional ballot and complete that exemption form at that time, which would be a reasonable impediment. Even we've heard some of the interpretations of it as Rodolfo, if you want to click to the next slide. Yeah, so we've heard some interpretations from the State Board of Elections as a reasonable impediment isn't necessarily not having an ID at all, not having access to get an ID at all, but instead could just be the inability to actually present an ID at that time. So if you rode your bike down the road to your local precinct and you forgot your ID on you, and you still wanted to vote, yeah, you could vote provisionally and bring it back, or you could fill out the photo ID exemption form, saying that you didn't have it on you at that time. And like I said, the Board of Election members in your county are the ones who actually have to go through and approve that. And so if you, and they're supposed to operate in good faith and assuming that you're not just trying to pass one over on them and are actually having an issue. So this is what the photo ID exemption form would look like. We're trying to make sure that people know that it is their right to ask for one if they don't have an ID on them. And again, this is something that may be an issue that maybe poll workers forget to offer. So making sure that people understand their right, that if they go there, they do have the right to ask for request a photo ID exemption form, and utilize it when voting provisionally at that time. And so we do actually have a couple of vote protector trainings coming up in September, about a month out from now. They're going to be held two in the same week, and they're both completely virtual. We're going to have one Tuesday, September 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. And then 2 days later, we're going to have one on Thursday, September 19th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, when Rodolfo sends these slides out, you'll be able to click on that link there, go to our Mobilize page, and sign up to be a part of those trainings. And then, of course, we always have sign and material distribution. I actually need to update this slide because we do have a material request form now to where you can go through and request however many copies of all the materials that we have. We have them in both English and Spanish now too. So depending on what community you're serving, requesting materials that are most accessible to them. But we have a lot of good materials, stuff about what's going to be on the ballot, how to prepare and how to register to vote. Make sure that you have everything when you're going out there. More information about IDs because it is a little complicated. And so I'll make sure that request link gets out there. But also, if you ever need anything, you can always reach out to me, and I can do my best to get you in contact or get those resources to you too, because I am based out in the region. So my email and phone number are up there for you to utilize as well. And let's just talk right quick. I want to just go briefly over engaging with people about the election, because we have heard some people talk about not everybody's as excited to vote in this election. Not everybody is engaged in the process to where they feel like they have actual stakes in this election. We have a lot of communities out here who feel like they've been told to vote for a long time that have never seen any substantial outcomes from it that actually benefits them in their everyday lives. So I just wanted to go quickly over this, kind of share some talking points when we're engaging with people about turning out to vote in this upcoming election. And we begin, Rodolfo, with talking about how there's a lot more on the ballot this year than just the presidency. Yes, we are. This week is the Democratic National Convention out in Chicago. So we're seeing a lot of stuff come out there about the presidential race. Last month was the Republican National Convention. So, in these every 4 years, elections, it's really the media is very caught up with the presidential election. That's what we see a lot about, especially with all the changes that have happened in the past month. But we need to remind people that there's a lot more on the ballot than just the president. And really, as you go further down the ballot, you're engaging with candidates that actually have direct control over things that may impact you in your everyday life. So we have our county commissioners, we have our county school board members, our state superintendent, state treasurer, board of our general assembly members, and the governor's up there too. So just a lot more things than just the president happening there. And we can look at some statistics on this next slide, kind of talking about some issues that we see across North Carolina that these more localized positions actually play a role in. So this is from our friends over at the Budget and Tax Center. And I think I have a link at the end of the next couple of slides that has that will probably provide you access to this data. But just looking at some things like across the state, there's a huge issue when it comes to the price of rent. And I think we've heard that a lot over the past couple of years. And so through the data, 48%, nearly half of all North Carolinians can't afford their rent. And that's a trend across a lot of the counties out here where it sticks close to that nearly half marker that a lot of North Carolinians can't afford their rent. We talk about the next one. This data was collected before Medicaid expansion. So looking at that, 11% of citizens don't have health insurance. That's one that we talk about where direct advocacy and continued engagement with our North Carolina General Assembly members played a role in making sure that there was increased access to health insurance. Helping that 11% of North Carolinians across the state get that access to health insurance. You're seeing an unemployment rate of 3.2%. 32%, a third of the population of North Carolina is low income. 13% of the poverty of the people out here live in poverty. These are things that our General Assembly members, that our county commissioners, that these more, Secretary of Agriculture, and other state administration positions play a role in and can help oversee and provide change there. And then, of course, our graduation rates and the quality of the education that we have across the state is also directly impacted by not only our county school board members, but also our state superintendent as well, and the governor and the General Assembly members. So, there's a lot that happens here that we assume is happening at the federal level with the president and Congress, but that's actually happening, within the counties, the municipalities, and the state government that's happening out here. And we can skip this one. This is just like a direct for Edgecombe County. But we can look at this, and you can get this more of this data through this link, through the NC Budget and Tax Center website. And like I said, this will be sent out, so you can click on this link and get that information and kind of utilize it when you're out talking with voters, encouraging them to get out the vote, and just talking about the importance of this upcoming election. And then I'm just going to end with a couple of voter registration reminders. This is always good if you're out here doing voter registration. So there are updated forms for the 2024 election, specifically when it comes to the part of it now being required to either provide the last 4 digits of your social security number or your driver's license, or checking a box down there that saying that you can't provide one at the time, and then going and showing an ID later on to the Board of Elections, and then directing them towards those services. And then also changes when it comes to making things known about the changes to felony voting in that respect too. So here's just a quick little visual. This is what I'm talking about with the changes to ID, or to the social security number, driver's license number. So just making sure that people are providing information there, either providing that driver's license or non-driver's license from the DMV, those last 4 digits of your social security number, or checking that box down there to ensure that that's happening. But if you leave that blank, that creates problems. The registration may not go through. So at least, providing something in that box over there, whether it be one of those 3. You don't have to, include both your driver's license number and the last 4 digits of your social, one or the other words, but just making sure that something is marked there towards the registration form goes through. Yeah, we can skip over this right quick. Now, this is a helpful tool whenever you are registering anybody to vote. You are able to go to demnc.co/lookup and actually search for someone's voter registration. In which case, but also if you want to, you can search me. That's fine. But you can go through, type in their first and last name. Seijo. Yeah, it's important to get those spelling right. And then I'm in Pitt County. So first, last name, county. If it's a more common name, putting that middle initial and year of birth. But you don't have to include the middle initial and year of birth. So for me, I know that I'm the only Lucas Sajo out here in North Carolina that's registered to vote. But then also always including that box down there at the bottom that says removed or denied, just in case we're working with somebody that's unsure if they're still on the rolls, if they haven't voted in a while, to make sure that we're seeing the full list and anybody that has been taken off the list recently. So then clicking search, and from there, seeing their registration status that I am active. And there's other uses of this tool that you can get into by playing around with it. But the big thing is if you're ever doing voter registration, someone doesn't know if they're registered to vote, utilizing that resource to make sure that they're getting the information that they need. Yeah, and this is just what Rodolfo just showed. Um, and just some more information if you want to look at this afterwards, how to search. But yeah, that's everything that I have. I think I got it in about 30 minutes, which I'm very impressed. So yeah, if there's any questions or anything, just here's the time. Let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. If I can't, I'll see if Carol can help me out, or we can get back to you later on too with anything else.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Democracy NC. I will open it up for any questions anyone has. And if there aren't any, I will just like to stress, or I can't stress this enough, there are 77 days left until election day, even less for early voting and everything else. And that's around 11 weeks or less. So this is really important work, crucial work. We're hosting these types of meetings in Spanish and English once a week up until election day. So we invite everyone to join. But meanwhile, we can go around and have make comments. So we'll introduce ourselves and make a comment and ask a question just to promote a more active participation within this space. Now, don't everybody leave at one time, but I can start it off, and then if anyone wants to go, feel free to butt in. If not, I'll just do a roll call. So again, my name is Rodolfo Martinez. I'm here representing the Association of Mexicans and moderating this meeting. For me, no questions, just comments. Lucas was speaking about how Democracy NC has a tool now where you can order their like materials, like the pamphlets, all the informational materials. What's really cool about it is that they have a lot of them in Spanish, and Lucas has done a really good job at sharing those with us. And it's been promoting a lot of inclusivity, especially from a very traditional voter protection organization. And it's something really special and something I'm really happy about. And if no one else wants to go, I'll pass it on for Jenny Aracha. Okay. She appears to be out. Okay, I'll pass it on to Mati Lasso Chatterton.
I'm going to unmute.
Mhm.
Thank you, Rodolfo. This is a great meeting. And um, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Mhm.
And you put the screen for me. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Trying to put okay, now I think. Hi, my name is Mati Lasso Chatterton, and